All right, good afternoon, everybody. It's Andrew Cole with East Orlando Chamber of Commerce again, and we've got another great presentation here on 5 tips for digital advertising with Mitchell Smith. So before we start, I do want to do a couple pleasantries as we've been doing here to welcome our folks and to bring everybody in. And first thing I want to do is to be able to recognize PowerNet. And PowerNet enables you to connect. This is the platform that we're using for our meetings. We really appreciate all that they have done to help us do that. So if you are interested in the services that PowerNet has, they have more than just the digital platform that you're seeing here, but they also have IT services and other pieces with that can help you for your business. So we appreciate everything that PowerNet brings to the table for us. And also, I want to welcome and thank our trustees. Our trustees are stakeholders within our community, and also have their own non-fiduciary board with the Chamber that helps guide and lead us with the Chamber direction of things that we're doing. And with those, I'd like to recognize Advent Health, Avalon Park Group, Avalon Insurance Services, Duke Energy, Fairwinds Credit Union, Great Florida Insurance, Orlando Health, Suburban Land Reserve, and the Orlando Law Group. So we really appreciate their participation within the Chamber. So we've got some digital advertising tips for you with Mitchell Smith, who's with Spectrum. And I wanted to let you know we're going to allow you to chime in and ask questions throughout. So you can either put them in the chat box and I'll monitor those and ask those. But if there's a follow-up, please feel free to unmute your phone to do so, or interrupt Mitchell as we go through. If you have a question on a specific topic, we want to make this an interactive meeting today. So without further ado, I'm going to send this over to Mitchell. Mitchell can share his screen here and put his PowerPoint up, and we'll go from there. So Mitchell, thank you so much for being here this afternoon, and welcome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me. And today, I just wanted to kind of go through a few things, kind of a high-level overview of some digital advertising tips that we have. And before I get started, I always like to this is kind of a cool little piece that we have in here to kind of demonstrate what sometimes you feel like you're battling. and I know my question is, does digital advertising feel like this to you sometimes? Where you're literally fighting against the wind. And don't feel bad, because I do this for a living, and sometimes it feels like that. So you are not alone. Please don't feel like you are that person that just can't get it. It changes so often that it's often that we all feel that way. Again, just to kind of show you my credentials, my name is Mitchell Smith. I'm an advanced advertising sales manager with Spectrum Reach, a division of Charter, and I work in the Maitland office here in Orlando. So, and to get started, just to kind of reiterate what Andrew said, that I want this to be interactive. I'm used to doing this in front of people in rooms where I can kind of read the room and get a feel for someone who might have a question, or call on people directly. Because we don't have the luxury of that right now, I would prefer that everybody, we're going to try to not stay muted, so that you can just ask me a question. If during the presentation you have a question, you can just ask it as you would in a regular room. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, then yes, please just type it in the question field in the chat, and we'll get to it either way. Everybody cool with that? I can't see everybody's face, so I'm gonna need to hear a little response. Let's test the little unmute thing and everybody say okay or
okay. Yes. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, it'll work.
All right, we're good. All right. So in marketing and trying to get into your business and putting your message out, you remember a time where it used to be really, really easy to reach your customers and to do it effectively. I mean, basically, you had radio and then you had TV, and TV only had a few broadcast channels. So it was kind of easy to put a message out and get it in front of people who were consuming, TV content. Then cable came along, and then, your audiences became a little more diverse. They had more selection. There were more channels and things like that. So you had to think a little bit more about where that message was going to go. Then the internet showed up, and then that launched a whole new platform where people could spend their time and consume content. So it began to become another element that you had to consider when you were thinking about, how am I going to market my business? So with that, in the digital landscape, so many doors have been opened that there are tons of opportunities. And going through that means you need to sometimes have a little guidance and help to understand all the choices that you have and to be able to go out and make good decisions on how you want to pursue your advertising opportunity. So what we're going to do today is go through what we consider 5 essential tips in online advertising. And tip number 1 is set your advertising objectives. Focus and identify what you want to accomplish. And really what that means is, and that sounds very simple. And I think everybody says, duh, well, that's what you're supposed to do. But in reality, how many people have literally sat down and said, this is what I want to do. This is what my objective is. Or is it, I need to sell more of this, or I need to get more of that. There's nothing really specific. It's just a general phrase. I mean, we've all heard it. If you talk, a car dealer or someone like that is like, all right, so what is it that you want to do? I want to sell cars. Help me sell cars. That's a very broad statement. And it also shows that sometimes it hasn't been quite focused of what they want to do. So when you're trying to put together an advertising objective, you need to really establish what that is. Is it that you want more sales? Is it that you want to attract new customers aside from the ones that you're already getting?
Hello?
Do you want better brand awareness? Was that a question? Okay. All right, that's just the audio fluff. It's all right. So is it that you want better brand awareness? Are you looking to test new creative to see how it's impacting people? Are you getting the engagements you're looking for? Things like that. It could be, do you want increased transparency, which is very important because in today's time, transparency should be a part of anything that you're doing online. It should be an integral part of anything that you have going on out there. Now, let me ask a question. Now that I've said all that, how many people have truly, put together and thought about what their advertising objective is right now? Does anybody have something that they are working on, they've actually put together what their objective is? Come on now, this is crickets.
Crickets.
So what I'm hearing is no one has an advertising objective right now. Or none that want to be shared, I guess. Don't worry.
I use a lot of social media, Facebook, Instagram, and a little bit of LinkedIn. That's what I kind of use.
So what is the objective?
Objective is to show what we do to educate the customer and at the same time try and get sales.
There we go. Okay, cool. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to share? And is that Yesha or Yesha?
Yesha.
Yesha, okay. I always want to do the strong E. Okay, well, we'll move on to number 2. So tip number 2, and that is really your digital media best practices. Because once you put together the objective, now what you want to do is start to establish, all right, how do I know if it's working, or how do I know if I can truly make my objective obtainable? And it comes with, there are 3 main pieces of your best practices. The first part is data. And data is very important. I don't think a lot of people really think about this part of it as much as others, because it is very important to have this. And it can be intimidating for some people when you start talking about data, because you hear first party data, you hear second party data, then you hear third party data. You're like, well, how many different datas are there out there? So it starts to fall into that line. So if you don't know, then you kind of nod your head and you just kind of go with whatever's being said. Well, data is really important when you're trying to create that audience. It's what you use to start crafting how your campaign is, where it's going, who's going to see it, things like that, so that you can make sure your objective can be obtained with whoever it is that you're using to partner with to get your message out. The other part is transparency, which kind of goes into what I was saying before with, clear transparency, being able to see what's happening in your campaign and know where it's running, when it's running, and how that's performing. Transparency is very key right now, because with digital advertising, there's no reason you should be relying on PowerPoint presentations or printed out reports anymore. Then you have brand protection, which again, a lot of people don't think about this either, because it's one of those elements that you just assume is happening. And you don't pay, a lot of attention isn't paid to all of the elements of click fraud or bot traffic and things like that. So being able to partner and run your campaign in an environment where you can reduce those things is very, if not eliminate, is very important and a key part to executing a proper plan. So let's start with data and look at what that. It's one of the situations. It's like, just like when you have sales data, it helps you to run your business more efficiency. Being able to have data about your consumers or the people that you want to target is also very important. And it's used to effectively create digital campaigns, because the quality of the data that you have really affects the quality of the audience that you're speaking to. So if you're working with a media partner who has access to quality audience data, this really helps you in what you're trying to do as far as reaching those partners, because it gives you the ability to really look at who you're targeting. It could be like audience behaviors, like, are you planning to move in the next 6 months? Are you into gardening? Do you like travel? Things like that. Even as far as like demographic information, like, are you married? Do you have children? Do you have a graduate degree, or did you go to college? Things like that, or in college now, and things like. So it all helps for you to craft that audience that you want to reach, so that then it becomes into having an effective targeting and knowing the geography that you want to cover. Like, where do I want to run? Who do I want to reach? How does that play out? So that when you match the quality of the audience that you created with the targeting that you've designed to reach those individuals, wherever they may be, it helps for you to hit that advertising objective that you've set. So that now you have everything working and kind of flowing in a way that's productive for you and your business. Everybody still following me so far?
Yep.
Any questions on anything right now?
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, Mitchell, I had a quick question. Can you give examples of what first party and third party data is? Because even me, I get confused sometimes with the differences.
Okay. I'll use it in an analogy that I did that I think helped a lot of people to understand it. When you talk of first party data is something that you own. Second party data is something that someone else owns but shares with you. And third party data is data that pretty much anybody can get as long as they want to pay for it. And this is how you kind of relate to the value of data. And Ralphie, let's use you for an example. All right. Think of a dish that you can get anywhere, any restaurant or anything. So let's stick. All right. What's your favorite type of food? All right. Let me ask you this. What dish does someone fix for you that you are intimately connected with that you absolutely love?
Ooh, homemade pasta, like from scratch.
Is what?
Homemade pasta from scratch.
Okay, and who makes that?
I think Prado makes the best one in Orlando.
An individual that makes it, Ralphie.
Oh, my friend Mike makes really good homemade pasta. So.
Okay. All right, so Mike makes homemade pasta. It's his own recipe. He knows how to make it. You've seen him make it. You know how he makes it. You know he makes it in a clean kitchen. That's important for now. It's also something that you like, and you know that he makes it for you. It's your. That's his own first party element, because he made it. You know who he is. You know how he makes it. You know it's great. That's your first party. Because he owns that. No one else has it but him. So now, who makes the next best that you like?
A person or a restaurant?
It could be the restaurant.
All right, then I choose Prado then.
Okay, so let's pretend that you own that restaurant and that they make that pasta as well, and the only person that can get it are people that are part of a VIP list, and you're on that list so you can get that. You don't see it made, but you like it, you know it's quality, and you know it's good. But you have to be only a select few can get it. Now it's not your friend's pasta, but it is good. So, all right, so that's like second party data. Someone else has it, it's available, but only to a select few of people. And then you have third party data. So that's like saying you're going to any Italian restaurant and they have pasta on the list, and you can pretty much go anywhere to get it, as long as you're willing to pay for whatever the price is on the menu. So when you look at these three elements, first party data, you know everything about that data, how it was made, how it was gathered, whether it was, from what individual, whatever it is, that's first party. That's the power of it, because no one can have that but you. That's it. Second party data is It's available, it's out there, someone else owns it, but they will share it with you, and usually only a select number of people. And then you have third-party data that's out there where anybody can go as long as they have a budget to buy it. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does actually, and I'm building up an appetite now, so thank you.
You should have eaten by now, Ralph. You should be straight.
Yeah, I'm still hungry though. I'm always hungry.
Okay. All that working out. All right, so now the next part of that is, go back to that. And kind of another way of showing how this was an example we did, it doesn't work with first party data, but it shows you how the power of data works. So in this slide, it's kind of demonstrated. Suppose you had a bar and you were trying to attract new customers, but your advertiser was only getting you the same customers time and time again. You weren't breaking out. So what happens is with data, when you partner with a media partner, then they come in and they show you that they can give you greater scale by showing you a larger number, of potential customers. So now you have your customers, and then your media partner came in and gave you access to more customers that show you other potential shoppers. So then what happens is you start to integrate that data and say you want to reach people that go to bars 3 or more times in a week. So now with that, you know the people that you've already contacted fit that profile, but now based on the data that the new media partner gave you, you found more people to then integrate into your advertising mix, so that now your scale has increased and you can reach more people. That way, now you can craft that message to say, well, all right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run a display campaign or a banner campaign in 2 zip codes next to me, and I'm gonna advertise trivia night. This way I can bring in fresh customers to my business, but all of this was made available because you were able to integrate that media partner's data to add to what you already had to build your clientele. So this is a good example of how you can use data and having the ability to get access to data to give you larger scale and be more refined and efficient in how you send that message. Because it's not about blasting the message out anymore. It's really about being able to find your audience that fits your advertising objective, and then using your funds to target those individuals and then exclude those that don't fit your profile. So the more access you have to data, the better chance you have of executing the campaign properly and using your money more efficiently. Now, the next part of this is transparency. Transparency, X-ray vision for campaign performance. And essentially what this means is that you should have the ability to look into your campaigns and see what's going on at any time. Not once a month or anything like that, but literally being able to go in and look anytime during the day and find out what's happening in your campaigns. I mean, you should be able to monitor all the campaigns that you have. You should be able to know when and where they're running, what sites or what geos, location, and things like that, being able to really understand what's happening with your campaign. You should also be able to quantify who responds. So being able to track what's happening when that happens, being able to find out, what conversions are happening in those campaigns and things like that, so that you can get a better understanding of how it's performing. Also being able to judge creative and whether it's impactful or not. Being able to look and look at multiple campaigns that you have running to say, okay, this campaign is generating a ton of impressions, but I'm not seeing the engagement, I'm not seeing the clicks, or I'm not seeing the conversions. And being able to see those things in a way that you can find those insights to help you make adjustments to your campaign, and then react in a timely way so that you're not waiting to the end of the month and all your money's been spent and you can't look at it and make those adjustments. So all of these things help you to be more efficient in how you're running your campaign. A way to kind of consider this is like if you were the head coach of a football team, before every game, you put together a strategy, and that could be your advertising objective. That's your game strategy. Well, then it falls into, all right, how does that work? If the game starts, you start playing the game and you're getting crushed at halftime. Do you continue with the same strategy? Or do you put in a new game plan, you adjust your strategy to compensate for your shortcomings, and then use that to make better decisions in the second half. That's what transparency allows you. The ability to watch what's happening in your campaign and in a timely manner, rather than at the end of the game, during the course of the game, make these adjustments and tweak those campaigns so that they continue to perform the way you want them to. Everybody clear on that one? So?
Yep.
All right. And then the last part about this is brand protection, safeguarding your brand. And I guess your brand is not just that storefront or you when you're out in the public and people know who you are. You know, your brand online is very, very valuable, and where it's being exposed, you can you know where your store is located. You know the circles that you travel in and the places that you go. So there's no jeopardy there. When you're marketing online, you want to make sure that you're positioning your brand where it best suits your business, and you're not putting it in places that it shouldn't be. I mean, it also helps to make sure that you're getting the right things, because there's nothing worse than finding out that what you bought isn't what you got, or that it was broken or flawed. And online, that can easily happen, because amongst going to those places that they shouldn't be, there's also things out there like click fraud and bot traffic or non-human traffic. And then there's criminal activity that happens within websites and things like that. So there's lots of different ways that your brand can be damaged. And you want to make sure when you're advertising, and especially when you're picking media partners or you're doing it yourself, that you make sure that you're trying to use these places that will protect your brand. Pretend that you owned a grocery store and you were running a campaign for families, and then you see your ad showing up on a site where it's advertising violent movies or some unsavory spot. You literally, if you had your choice, wouldn't place your ad there. So why not have that same thing working for you when you're placing your display campaign? Why not have something set up to protect you from those things, to have those safeguards in place? And what helps with that is finding a reliable media partner that has that information, that has the experience and the resources to validate the places that your ads are running, those sites that they're running on, or the content that's being displayed where your ads are showing up. You want to make sure that real people and not those bots are looking at your ads and not getting that click fraud that pumps up your impressions, and yet you see nothing that's generating from it. And then you want to make sure that they have industry certifications, that they have displayed those badges like the Certified Against Fraud seal that's from TAG, the Trustworthy Accountability Group. Those are the type of things that you want to find in your partner. And there are multiple places and multiple organizations online that basically demonstrate that they're there to protect the consumer and the businesses, to make sure that your ads are legitimately showing in those places that you want them to be. And you're not left, wondering and worrying about where your ads are running, because you've partnered with somebody who's not going to run them where they aren't supposed to be displayed.
So Mitchell, just while I've got you, so if you've got a media partner and like you're able to find out and make sure that they're authentic sites and things, but what about, can you target where you want those ads to be seen? I mean, like if I've got a specific demographic or age group, or just so that you're not just blanketing everything, but can you be more specific in your targeting?
Yes, and that's where the data comes in, because you can literally, just as you said, you can break it down by gender, age, income, credit score, car they drive. I mean, you can refine your audience to specifically what you want it to be. And then even as far as you can do something as broad as the DMA or as narrow as a household. You may literally say, I want to target, men between the ages of 35, 54 that are 75-year-old, $75,000 a year, and they live in this neighborhood. I want the houses in this 5-mile radius or whatever. I want the houses that fit this profile. You can be ultra, targeted in your message. And the good thing about it is, it's kind of like, you remember the data I did with Ralphie with the pasta? When you buy from third-party vendors, one of the things that you should really be aware of is how those third-party vendors buy. You want to partner with somebody that, say you, Andrew, as you're out and you decide, I want to go get Italian tonight. And then you do a search for Italian and all these restaurants pop up. What if you had something that said, all right, you want Italian, here are the top 4 Italian restaurants in your 10-mile radius. How much more beneficial is that than going through a whole laundry list of Italian sites to figure out where you want to go? You already know where the top 4 are. You do have the capability of doing that. A lot of vendors have the ability to say, look, we can weed through all the other fluff and get you to really where you want to be, so that you're not trying to go to all these places and figuring out what's good, what's not. We're gonna give you a step ahead on it, and that's what you want.
And as a partner, do you help work with people to come up with their marketing plans and schemes? So like Yesha talked about, she's trying to get information out about what she does and everything here. Or the chamber, we're targeting to businesses but sometimes don't know where that goes, or I don't know who to reach. So are there tools or tips that can help you target the right market for your products and services that you might be trying to sell on those?
Mm-hmm. There are, and one of the things I always say, and again, I preface this by saying everything is determined by budget, and we're all aware of that. But budget not being the biggest issue, my biggest advice to businesses is to not focus on a single product, to realistically lay out, what that objective is, and then work with a partner that can help you craft a strategy. Because no one thing is going to serve your needs. Again, this is without considering budget, but generally you want to have a few things working for you to achieve that goal, because there is no silver bullet. Everything plays with each other to make sure you reach that thing. So what I always try to do is try to have that conversation with the business owner as to what they're trying to do, and then where they want to be, what area they want to target. And then we start to craft how that works. Like, let's just say, again, you're promoting your business and you want to, you have a rubber band factory, I guess, and you want to reach men and women with that have daughters between the ages of 5 and 13 and own a minivan. Well, what we would look at is saying, all right, we know who we want to target. What are the different ways that they consume content, and how can we get in front of them? And then we start to figure out, all right, what are the different ways of touch points? Because again, it's not about being on one device. You want to be on multiple screens so that you can cover whatever they may be doing: smartphone, tablet, desktop, TV. And then we work to kind of piece that together. And a lot of times your TV covers a certain aspect of it, your display works into another part of it, you may do some search in another part of it, but it really is about a strategy, not a particular product. And yes, we will work with you to put that together.
And so is it a brand strategy? Like, so if I have specific products that I want to sell, but is it better to kind of give information about my company and everything that I offer, or trying to sell a specific piece of that? I might have 4 or 5 product lines or 4 or 5 pieces, or I'm trying to, is it better to just, as a brand awareness, to I'll use the chamber, for example, to say, hey, the East Orlando Chamber is here and we're targeting businesses and business owners and things? Or is it better to say, hey, I'm going to target, because I'm trying to target just people that want to come to a networking event or a business expo or something of the sense? I mean, I know that's an event, but I'm trying to, is it better to just do the overall brand awareness and let somebody know about the East Orlando Chamber, or to do more of a targeted piece and try to fit people in, like, you need this part of our service, or are these benefits, if that makes sense? Like, or if somebody has a number of product lines, do I try to sell the one product line over the other, or do I try to sell the whole kit and caboodle of everything that I have?
Yeah, and that goes into your advertising objective, and as the business owner, really defining what's the most important right now. And that's something that I know everybody wants us to come in as the expert and say, hey, this is what you need to do. But realistically, it's a partnership. And you as a business owner, you know if it's more about getting new faces in, or is it promoting this event right now? Which one? Because we all want to do everything, but what needs to be done right now takes precedent. So the most important thing should take the precedent, for your business. And then you focus on that. Now, again, if you have the funds to do multiple things, then that's wonderful, because that falls into the strategy, because you have a strategy where part of your strategy is a campaign that targets that awareness. And then you have another strategy with elements that's a strategy that's geared towards a specific event. Those are two different messages. It's two different types of targeting. So, it's really establishing what is the most important and then working from there.
So if you're on a limited budget, kind of figure out what is the top priority that you want to do, whether it's I need to get my company out there, or I want to promote the specific product or event or service that I'm doing. So like if I was a air conditioning and plumbing company, do I want to do the plumbing side? Do I want to do air conditioning, or do I want to let people just know that, hey, we do it all,
right?
And let somebody go. So, and then as that grows, and so what do you recommend for like people that might have a limited budget or is trying to start out or figuring out how I want to dabble, I want to learn, I want to do more, but I don't know what kind of budget or pieces there, and I don't know if you've gotten that part. And I know I'm asking a lot of questions, but
well, in part, when budget is the main concern, it legitimately is in every situation. I don't care how much money you got. There's only so much money you're going to allocate for the budget of that. But the first thing I will say, and this is something to think about, and a lot of people don't like to hear this, but if you are in advertising and you consider what you're doing a bill, that is a hint and a half that you might want to pace it back. It should be an investment in your business, and you should see it that way. The money that you spend shouldn't require an immediate return to justify that spend, because now you're pushing money out there that you really can't afford to use at that time for that element. Now, the good thing is advertising is affordable depending on what you're trying to do. So you may want to run this huge campaign that does X, Y, Z, but your funds are saying, hey, let's focus on X. We can get Y, Z in a little bit. X needs to be taken care of. We know we don't have a ton of money, so I really want to get to this, but this is what my budget dictates. So it doesn't mean, and you said it before, you can grow. Once you start to receive that return on investment from your initial one, any good business, if you're making money, that allows you more money to allocate for spending and other things, and you grow it from there. But don't be in a rush to throw a bunch of money out trying to make something happen right away and then put yourself in jeopardy because you've overextended yourself.
Is there a formula that people could look at that of what percent of a budget they should allocate towards their marketing or their advertising piece? Is there any recommendations that you guys have from over across you guys use a lot of different levels of people, but what percentage is a good percentage that if somebody's budgeting for the next year that they should set aside for that or fill that coffer? Is there a good formula for that?
Wow. I don't know if there's a set formula for that because people have different mentalities. What I will say is that, and because it includes so many different, it depends on how much advertising are you doing. So you're saying overall the set budget that you would allocate for any type of advertising, that could cover a ton.
Or like, let's just say, I've got my company is $100,000. How much, and that's what I have for expenses, whether that's overhead and everything else. If I was setting that budget thinking, okay, I have $100,000 I can spend next year, is there like a percentage of what, after you do everything, is there a good number amount that somebody should say is, I need to put 50% of my budget into marketing or advertising or however that might be, or do I need to do 20% or do I need to do 60%? I don't know if there's a formula for that.
I don't have a formula for that. I just have my own personal opinion on it. I think most people are comfortable doing somewhere between 20 to 40% of that as some type of marketing or advertising budget. 50% is aggressive. You do see it from time to time, but I just think in general, most people are looking in that 20 to 40%.
Okay.
Based on that, they're trying to decide exactly what they are going to do. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's going to be television or internet or billboards or whatever it might be, and I guess I just was trying to help out some of the, like a small like even for the chamber, like, okay, what should we budget towards marketing next year, specifically out of a full budget, let's just say. And I didn't know if there's a rule of thumb or what you've seen from what people, when you've consulted with folks and things like that, to say, you should look between that 20 and 40% range if you're really wanting to get the return in your investment to get your business out there and to sell the products. Yeah, and that's as a sales rep, that's a hard question to answer, because one, very rarely do we really know how much a client is spending. We know how much is being shared, but we very rarely do know everything that they're doing, and everybody's a little different. I mean, I've dealt with people who know they're overspending, but their whole point is to overspend. And where some people are like, you got to be crazy to put that kind of budget into your advertising, but that's what they're comfortable with, and it generates return for them. But everybody's not comfortable doing that. So it really is one of those things where you feel most comfortable. I will say that when you're dealing with media partners, another thing that you should really evaluate is, how are they coming up with the budget that they propose to you? What prompted you to say this is worth $2,000 or this is worth $5,000? How do you come with that figure? What data do you have that powers that decision to tell you this is what this should be? And many vendors now should have the ability to say, hey, this is how we use our data. This is what justifies that. This is, the market and what it bears. And this is how many people actually fit this criteria. I mean, they're basically saying, I looked at what your audience is, and this is what that actual audience looks like. And to reach them, it will take this, or a reach or a frequency or whatever that may be. But there should be elements that tell you how they came to that budget, which helps you understand, all right, is this justified? Or isn't it? And I'll do one last question. I'm sorry, I've been hogging the mic. But what are any tricks or tips that you might have to be able to justify my ROI in my advertising? Like you put a billboard up, and that so many people see that as they drive by, but at the same time, how do I know that somebody acted on that, especially in television? Internet, maybe you can follow the trail back, but TV or any of those, are there any tools or things like that you provide to help people with ROI, or what businesses should do to try to track where they're getting it so they can see where their marketing dollars are being spent the best?
Yeah, when it comes to TV, there's no hard, definitive way to say this is what happens. What I will say is that if you are in business and in today's time, 9 times out of 10, you have a website. Hopefully it's secure. So that's something you should definitely pay attention. Make sure your site is secure. And then you have some form of analytics. Primarily, probably 90% of businesses have Google Analytics on it. And there you can set up goals. You can put events in place to track activity on your website. Now, and this is like I said, it's not a definitive way, but if you just started running certain promotions or things like that, you can see if you see an uptick in traffic, things like that. So that helps you to get a good feel for what's happening.
Sure.
So use your analytics. Your website analytics will give you some insight. It's not going to be perfect, but at least it gives you some kind of insight on activity around certain periods of events that you start.
So have a really good tracking process of, okay, I'm doing a campaign here and here, and then watch those numbers and statistics to see if you're not seeing anything, that something's not working, and change up either messaging and or the time frame of what things are being posted or are being submitted.
Exactly. And yeah, I mean, and now if you don't have someone it's a good idea to find someone who can properly set up like Google Analytics with, multi-level tracking so that you can see where those assists happen as well. Because a lot of times we're looking at last click attribution, meaning the last thing that triggered whatever conversion you're looking for. And other things have played part in getting them there. Like your TV campaign could have caused a search online, and then organically they got to your website. And then they converted. Well, in your Google Analytics, it'll be an organic conversion. But TV was what prompted them to do the search that got them there to convert, which can't be tracked, but it is one of those things that happen. So being aware of all the different elements that play in and trying to make sure you have it set up to be as precise as it can be is a good way for you. And I know that's a lot. As business owners, trying to understand how to do that and to use it is a lot, but a lot of times if you have someone doing your website and things like that, they can set up your Google Analytics goals, and they can do a lot of that other stuff to make sure at least those things are taken care of. So even if it's not down to the actual trail of what caused it, it's not the best thing, but you can still at least have that last click attribution to say this triggered some type of conversion.
Great, thanks. I'm going to quiet down for a minute.
I have a question.
Yes.
How do you get the Google Analytics?
It is free, and you can look up Google Analytics. Do you do your own website, or do you have someone else that does your website?
It's a mix, but usually it's my husband who does it.
Okay. When you go into your Google account, when you do Google, it'll give you a code to put into the body of your website, and I will put it on every page. And that way, when people come to your website, it tracks where they came from, what they did while they were on there, who converted. And you can set up goals for, like, if they purchased certain things or clicked in certain elements on your site, which triggered maybe subscriptions or a newsletter or something like that. There are various goals you can put in place to track those activities as well, which gives you a really good reporting of what's happening on your website when people and where people are coming from.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. No problem. You're welcome. All right, so tip number 3, which we've kind of gotten into a little bit. When we start to talk about, how do you pick the path that best fits your goal? And a lot of that revolves around what I was speaking on before, is being able to create an element and has that fits the budget that you have in place, and making sure that you're budgeting the right amount, and looking at your audience and making sure that the funds that you have allocated are appropriate for the objective that you have in place. Now, data gives you that information to make those right decisions so that you can create the plan that works. But it's also good, as I said before, that a lot of digital advertising isn't very expensive because you can really refine it and reel it in to a specific area. So you're not trying to cover large pockets of area that you have to do in sometimes. You can really pull it into like zip codes or, like I said, that household, so that it doesn't cost you as much, but you're still reaching those people that you want to talk to. Also, understanding your buyer's journey. I touched on this a little bit also. Being able to, depending on what phase that buyer is in, really does determine what type of marketing you'll do. Like, is it awareness, or is it, are they ready to buy? Understanding what that is, and then customizing a message that triggers when someone who's at that level engages your ad, that's the message that they see. So if you understand the buyer's journey, which we'll get into in a second, you can craft those messages so that it makes sense, and what you're speaking to them in a way that they're really able to absorb what you're saying. And then the right tactic. And I'll get into what that is also, but using the right tactic to get your message out so that people can effectively see what you have to say and drive them to your website. So when we talk about the stages, there are several stages to the buyer's journey. There's the awareness, just, who are you? What do you have? I never knew about this. Oh, this is awesome. Or now I would never buy that. Whatever it is, people are aware of you now. They know who you are. They know what you do. Then there's the consideration phase, where now they're aware of it, but now they want to know, all right, who else does this? How many people, have this product? I'm thinking about it, but, what does that really mean? and then the selection. Now that they've picked, they primarily picked who they want, and now they're figuring out what exactly they want to buy from you. So if it was like a car, all right, you consider getting a Camry. Now you know you're going to get a Camry. Now, which dealership am I going to go to? Well, who do I want to buy this from? And then you look at the purchase. How easy do you make it to buy? Do they buy online or do they come into the store? Now, in the current climate, a lot of these things have changed. I know we've probably all seen this. The whole purchase process now is, the ability to buy online has exponentially increased. Everything now is buy online. You order your food, you pay for it online, you have touchless delivery, you have all these different things, whereas before, we didn't, I'm new to Orlando, but I know there weren't as many people delivering 10 months ago as there are now. So that whole purchase process, and more people are buying stuff online, things like that. So that's all a part of that process. So knowing when they are, that purchase process is really huge, because when they're ready to buy, they're ready to buy. And then you have loyalty, where you're reaching out to those people who have already purchased from you, and how are they speaking about you to others, or are they considering coming back to you for future purposes? So these 5 phases of the journey are the ones that you can use for your message, because in each phase you speak to people differently. Someone who's bought from you, you speak a little differently than someone who doesn't know who you are. And someone trying to decide between you and someone else is a little different from somebody saying, well, I want this Maxima. No, you got to get them to understand that you're the person they should get the Maxima from, or that they get this Toyota from, and this is why. And this kind of rolls into tip number 4, which is the right tactic. And this is important because when you're in that journey, that buyer's journey, the tactic is kind of important. And there are a lot of different tactics. We're going to focus on a few in this one. We're going to focus on search, OTT, online video, and display. And that's what, when you hear people talk about tactics, this is what they're talking about. So if we start out with search, most people are familiar with search, SEM, search engine marketing, pay-per-click, PPC. Essentially, people are paying so that their product or service displays in an elevated version in the Google searches, so that when people are looking for information, they show up. It's a pay-to-play environment. No one's up there for free. So everybody's bidding to show up for their consideration. Now, you only pay when someone actually clicks your ad, but you still want it to show so that you're in that top part of the consideration. So in this example, when we talk about search, let's say you had a dog walking business and someone did a search for dog walking. Well, these are the lists that come up. So this is a paid ad. This is your Google Ads account, campaign. So when someone puts dog walking in, now this Canine Club shows up. If you're not running a search campaign, say you're this rover.com, you're not here, Canine-ish Club is showing up above you. People do pay-per-click so that they get that elevated positioning, so that when people are on their phone or on their desktop, that's the first thing they see. Because people have now begun to understand that these ads only show up when it's relevant to the keywords that you enter. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. It generally is someone who's offering what you want to do or what you want to buy. So the benefit of search is being able to pay to put yourself in an elevated position over other people who are trying to get that same attention. Now, the 2 key areas are, if it has an ad by it, we know that that's a paid ad. If it doesn't, it's an organic ad. And people get those confused because the paid ad was what we call SEM. The unpaid ad is what we call SEO. Now, both of those work in the Google search results page, but SEO is generally something you can either do for free or you pay someone to put content out there that helps you to show higher in the listings. So you can go either way, but the only way you can get into the SEM is if you have an account and you're paying to bid to be there. If you have confusions about SEO and SEM, really look into it to see what it is, because they're both very important, but they operate 2 different ways. One is based off of what you pay to be there. The other is using content to get your website higher in the rankings and positioning content that people want to consume, because the more people that read that content, the higher you come up. So that this is a result of people this is a result of money.
Okay, I have another question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the content part you talked about,
Mm-hmm.
and from what I've been told or have heard, there has to be keywords in that content, or is it just on the title?
Well, it's a combination of both. SEO, let me see. All right, think of Google like a bank. And, banks love people with money, right?
Yeah.
Well, the more money you got, the more the banks love you. Well, for Google, content is money. And the more content you have, the more they like it. Now, the key part is you can have tons of content, but they also want other people to like it, because Google's not in business because they keep putting this stuff out there. They're in business because people rely on them to give them good content, fresh content, relevant content when they do a search. So the better Google can map content to the searches that people perform, the more they like it. So if you have, and the way you do that is kind of like what you said, you have certain keywords that will trigger the content that you want to come up. But the content that you put out there needs to be consumable. People need to want to read it, or will click on it and go to your website. So as Google monitors that and they see that, like in this case, the best dog walkers, obviously people are clicking on that for this search phrase and people are going to their website. That's why it's above this one. And there's a crazy algorithm that Google uses to put all this together. But in essence, what you should think about is you want to put out content on a regular basis. You can't put it out once and hope that it's going to sustain you. You want to keep putting out fresh content on a regular basis that people will click on and come to your website and make sure that it's relevant, because Google wants to make sure that you are an authority on anything you're putting out there. That's a benefit to you. If people trust what you say, that's valuable, because more people will read it and will come to you. And just like here where Rover City is in multiple locations, it's not about being on the first page as much anymore. It's about page dominance. Can you get multiple listings on that page? Do you have a YouTube listing? Do you have an organic listing? Do you have your homepage listing? All of those things are important. And it's hard, it's not easy, it takes time. It's not gonna happen overnight. SEO is a slow process because people have to keep consuming to get you there. Whereas SEM, you pay your money and you're up there. I mean, well, you're bidding to be up there. It's not a guarantee, but you're in the process of being there more often than not.
So you said you have to make sure that you're putting content out there on a consistent basis, right? That's what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what does that look like?
That could be a page on your website. It could be a blog that you write. It could be a newsletter that you put out. It could be a video that you shot on YouTube and have it linked to your YouTube channel. It's various things. Organic listings consist of a number of different elements. So the more you do in different ways just helps you to get noticed. Okay,
and how much or how often should you be doing that?
What type of business do you have?
I sell CBD.
Okay.
I have my own brand.
Okay. I would say, one, I would probably weekly have a video that I put out. Oh. Just something just informative. It doesn't have to be anything long. It doesn't have to be anything intricate. It could just be something that, here's a tip, just a quick tip. And you could even do like, each month do like a 4-part tip. This week we're going to talk about this, tip 1, and then tip 2, tip 3, tip 4 to this process. It doesn't have to all be in one, because one, you want to create that desire to see more. So if they know you put that out every week, then you have people, you create a community. So, and that's what you really want, people that follow you and look for your content and consume it. And then I would write a blog at least once a month, just something that you put out once a month that, kind of gives content, gives something for the readers. And then just make sure you routinely keep the pages on your website updated. Some pages are going to be the same regardless, but there are other pages that way you can update content on a regular basis, even if it's just an events or something like that. Google just likes to see that you're updating your website, that it's not stagnant. That it's just, you load it one time and then nothing else changes.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm, you're welcome. All right. Next on this is OTT, or streaming TV. This is something that has kind of taken over. 74% of households are considered multi-channel or cord stackers. The popular thing that you hear now is people are cutting the cord, that they're canceling their cable subscriptions and they're unplugging and everything else. Well, the reality of it is, yes, a lot of people are cutting and kind of going that way, but far more people are actually stacking, meaning they're keeping their cable satellite subscription or their cable or their satellite subscription, and they're just adding to what they already have. Especially here in Florida, we're not seeing the same thing. It's like anything else. In certain regions, yeah, you'll see certain things happening, but here especially, we're seeing where more people are stacking. They're not cutting, they're just adding to. They may not buy, all the elements, but most people have a cable or satellite subscription, and then they'll have Netflix, or they'll have Hulu, or they have a Roku where they'll stream on Tubi or Pluto. And far more people actually have like the Spectrum TV app or something like that. So it's not so much that they're eliminating, they're just diversifying. They're stacking it, giving them other ways to consume content on top of what they already have. So OTT is one of those spaces that's growing. We've already seen it. That even now, I'm waiting to see the newest numbers, because so many people are home and have been home for a little while now that we know that the numbers are rising. We've already heard it. We look at the viewerships and how people, the news channels and all the other channels, people are watching way more movies, everything. So that's growing. That's not going to be an issue. It's something it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And the good thing about OTT is prime time is anytime. It's not about what's your 8 o'clock programming or your 9 o'clock show, or I got to be on, here, because OTT only works when someone actively opens an app and then picks a program that they want to watch. So prime time is supposed to be when people are watching TV the most. Well, OTT is totally dependent upon the individual and when they choose to watch TV. So every time is prime time. It doesn't matter, because they wouldn't be seeing you if they didn't opt to actually watch. So that's the one difference that you have with OTT versus, regular TV, and why they pair together so well, because you have one that covers you in the house for the people that are consuming traditionally on linear, and then you have the other for those people that are out streaming and consuming content the way they want to consume. So two actually work very well together. And then it gives you the ability to have TV on all devices, be it a phone or a PlayStation game or your smart TV or your tablet or your desktop. Now with OTT, you can literally watch TV anywhere you want, whenever you want. And now more than ever, it was like the last reading I saw before when this came out was that, the average household uses about 152 gigabytes of data per month. I know that has been blown out of the water now, because people are consuming way more content than they ever have, and that again isn't going anywhere. So I can only imagine the gigabytes. It might even be up to the tetrabyte now. I don't know, but it's way, way, way out there now. So OTT, if it's a part of that mix that you put together, is a great thing to partner with your linear TV. Doesn't make sense. I always say with our people, I always say, either you're buying the box or you're buying the house. Because if you're buying the house, then you're including everything, the OTT and the linear and everything, because people aren't just consuming that TV on the stand anymore, like from that first slide where it's just the TV. No, that's not it anymore. Now you want to really target the house, all the devices that may be consuming content. And we also have display, the often overlooked and misrepresented version of digital advertising, because it was one of the earliest elements to ever come out. I mean, people were doing display way long ago, and I think it got a bad reputation simply because they weren't powered by data like they are now. And so some people have a bad taste in their mouth for display simply because of old campaigns that they ran and it felt like they wasted money. Click fraud took over and they were running all over the place, and it just wasn't there. That's not today's display and online advertising. Today's display and online advertising is very cost efficient. It's some of the most inexpensive and affordable campaigns that you can run. Is hyper targeted. Like I said, you can target from either the DMA, a state, a region, down to a specific household. It gives you way more audience selections for being able to target individuals. It's It puts it in a format where you can have content or video so that you can be in front of people wherever they may be it geographic or based on their own demographics, profiles that you want to put on there. You have different elements like geo-targeting and geo-fencing. They also have elements of retargeting. Once they've been to your site, you can retarget them. And you also have geo-recency for some of the geo-fencing campaigns. So there's tons of ways that you can use display advertising now. And it really does give you a way to level the playing field when you're trying to get a message out. Because like I said, it's ultra affordable and it's very targeted. So you don't have to spray your message. You can really design a campaign to focus on those specific individuals that you want to talk to and cut out the rest that you don't really need. So as we look through this media consumption, to give you an idea, these were the elements that we were talking about in the buying funnel, that purchase funnel for the clients. And these are just some ideas of what type of tactics to use as people are, engaged in that buying funnel. So during the awareness, your TV, your streaming are good ideas to have to bring about awareness. Then during that consideration phase, that's a good time to have a targeted message through display or online video to make sure that you're in that consideration because we know that they fit a certain profile that you're looking for. Then in that selection process, because they've probably clicked on your display ads and your video ads, you can now retarget them so that you stay top of mind during that selection period and not get forgotten. And then the purchase, when people are in that purchase phase, that's a great place to have a search campaign where people are actively looking. They're looking to buy either right now or they're in that buying mode so that you can position yourself to be at the upper element of that page in the consideration. And then loyalty, that again is more of a retargeting phase where people have bought from you, you want to stay top of mind. Maybe you have a retargeting campaign for some of those that speak to, come back and get, we have this or update on this, or we have a new product. So you can kind of use that to stay top of mind with those people as well. But when you're engaged in this whole purchase funnel, if you think about who you want to target, you can then start to decide what type of tactics work best, how to use the data available to you to get a message to them that makes sense. And this is an example of just using that data, where you kind of think outside the box. This is a situation where two men are looking to buy a car. One of them is 35, married, has 2 kids, and is a sports lover. He loves consuming it wherever he can get it. The other is 24, single, and an avid gamer. Both of them are looking to buy a car. Do you speak to those 2 people the same way? Do you reach them in the same environment? No, you can't. So this is where you can use your display campaigns to target those individuals based on their characteristics and put a message that specifically speaks to them. And the 5th tip, which is creative. Creative is very important. And no matter how much money you spend, if your creative is not visually impactful, if you can't get people's attention, it doesn't matter. Because people are being bombarded with impressions all day, every day. There's no shortage of impressions, and there's no shortage of time that people are spending online. So when you come up with an ad, you want to make sure it looks good and it catches the attention. Now, also a key part of that is making sure that you have your strategy right. You can have a great message, but if you're not reaching the right people or your message just doesn't resonate with them because it doesn't relate to them, then again, you've just wasted that money because that's not your audience. Then design for any device. Most cases, everything now is run on multiple devices. So when you create your artwork for your campaigns, make sure you've covered all the popular sizes and that you have mobile as well as the popular display and desktop and tablet sizes in your campaign of artwork, because it's important. Because if you don't have that size, it's not capable of display, so you're missing out opportunities to get impressions for your campaign and have your ad show up. So design by device is very important. And then good production. Again, with the visual impact, that starts with this whole production part. Because if you don't have a partnership with someone that can produce the ads that you're running, be it video or just banner, then you should definitely get someone that can put that together for you, because it's all the different.
Uh-oh. You froze. Can't hear you. Can't hear. What happened? Oops.
Okay, well, Ralphie, would you like to add anything while we're waiting for him to get his computer back?
Yeah, I don't mind. But to Mitch's point, just making sure your creative is effective and impactful is really important. One thing we always say in media is you can spend hundreds and even millions of dollars on advertising, but if your creative is not effective, it just won't go far. So making sure that you're hitting the right audience, it's culturally sensitive, and ensuring that it's relevant to today's time is really, really important. So, it looks like we went a little blank for a second.
So did we get him back or no?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, we are a little past the time, so I did want to. That was great information. Thank you so much for helping us set that up, Ralphie. And hopefully everybody got a lot out of this today. We'll make sure that you've got Mitchell's information if you'd like to contact him. And I know, Ralphie, you've always been real accommodating as well if someone needed to get you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. So I just wanted to kind of give you a quick update on, we've got Tuesday, we've got Sherry Ellis, also from Spectrum, and she's going to be creating effective videos across all platforms. So if you're interested in that, make sure that Tuesday you mark your calendar, go ahead and sign up. She will be joining us at 2 o'clock. And then for our nonprofits, we do have our roundtable that's going to take place on the 24th. It happens every fourth Wednesday. That's at 8:30. And this month, we're going to be talking about networking with a purpose. It is a virtual event, but you know, we've gotten a lot done. And then if you are familiar, we have our Health Council Collaborative, and our Health Council Collaborative is it's going to be a virtual meeting. It's a meet and greet. It will also be a forum where we're going to break people out into different rooms. That's going to be June 25th at 8 a.m. And then on that Friday, we've got Latte with Leaders. So Representative Renee Placencia will be speaking. That is a member perk, but we will have him on board. And then July 3rd, we will be closed for the holiday. And our final event, make sure that if you were part of our event yesterday, you heard Will Perry come on. He was talking about e-commerce. Well, by 8th, he will be coming back at 11 o'clock, and it's going to be about how to create an irresistible offer. So make sure that you're watching the calendar. Things change very, very quickly with us. Mitchell, you're back.
Yes.
I know you were worried about that the whole time. So do you have any closing remarks or anything else you'd like to add?
No, I mean, I was pretty much I got to the last one before I kicked out, so I'm good. It's just, I always just advise, put more thought into your digital advertising. I think sometimes it's easy to throw money at it more than think about it. I'm just saying, just think about what you're doing and how you're using it. Try to partner with someone who knows what they're doing and use your money as efficiently as possible.
Great. Well, thank you again. This has been extremely helpful. I know everybody's really appreciated it. And again, keep watching the calendar. The East Orlando Chamber is here for you. And we'd like to thank PowerNet. Again, they're keeping us powered with these virtual meetings. And check the calendar out. And you guys have a great next week and a happy Independence Day.
Oh, you too.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.